Good morning, everybody, from a very misty Winchester this morning. Welcome to Ask the Expert, an award-winning daily series from 8:30 to 9 a.m. to help small business. If you have any questions, please ask them in the comments of the live feed. If you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community group on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. Now, during the live session, we'll be running a poll, so please do engage with it, and I will reveal the results in the end. Hi, everybody. My name is Sean Goldsmith. I'm the co-founder of a company called Grow Global, and we help small businesses become big businesses and big businesses become massive businesses through franchising. I worked on that for ages before I came up with it. But so Grow Global is a consultancy. We do everything from marketing. We do the design and the implementation of franchising, both internationally as well as locally. We've been behind some pretty cool initiatives, including the Franchising Academy, which is a global franchising school, Franchising for Africa, and a number of other big initiatives. And on top of that, I've been a board member of the British Franchise Association. So I've been around the block. I know a few things about franchising, and hopefully today I'm going to be able to enlighten you a little bit more as to what franchising is and, why it's so wonderful. So I was wondering and thinking about what I was going to do today. So, I had a word with the guys at QuickBooks, and I said, look, we're going to discuss the 5 reasons why franchising is better than a DIY business. Now, for those of you guys who haven't watched me before, a DIY business is basically a do-it-yourself, right? And as with most things DIY, statistically, turns out to be the same as fixing something in your house, right? The odds are things are going to go wrong if you do it yourself. Franchising is a very, very safe support. It's kind of like getting a contractor in or an expert in to come and do it for you. But what I'm going to do is, I've taken some notes, and this never ever happens. So, I'm just going to go through a few of these points for the next few minutes, just to give you some idea of what kind of support you might expect as a franchisee going into franchising. Now, if you're a franchisor, this is also very valuable for you, because if you haven't franchised before, this is a bit of a tick list as to what you're going to have to do or how you're going to support your franchisees. Now, one of the key things that a franchisor does, and believe me, this is a very, very important thing, because a lot of small businesses go out of business at this single point because they don't know how to do it, right? And the first type of support that a franchisor provides you with is starting a company, right? So just the physical process of starting the limited company, if you're going to go through that, some franchisors immediately get people VAT registered, and the reason for that is because they know that over the course of the year, they're probably going to go through the VAT threshold. But on top of that, the franchise fee, the VAT on top of that can be claimed back pretty quickly, sort of within about 3 months of starting your franchise, if you get your VAT set up straight away. Now, some franchisors do that, some don't, but either way, you get the full support and knowledge of people who know how to do this because they've done it a number of times before. The next step is they set up all of your key marketing material. So, right. So this again is somewhere where small businesses really, really wobble, because they spend huge amounts of time getting their website just right, getting their business card just right. I've known people to take 2 weeks to get their business card right. And literally it was down to the tone of the purple in the business card. So this is a very key point. So they do websites. The franchisor will do your business cards, your letterheads, all of your stationery, your leaflets, your brochures, all of that kind of stuff, all comes packaged and ready for you. Now, if you were DIYing this and you were doing it yourself, right, this could take you months to do. And for whatever reason, most people will spend a huge amount of time focusing on this, the creative and working with the graphic designers, etc. And what they won't do is they won't go out and just get a client. Right. Then comes the training, right? Within franchising, you train specifically for the job that you're going to do, specifically for the business that you're going to do. And the training that you have is relevant. It is based on experience. It is based on 10, 20, 30 people having done it before, sometimes 200. Even if you are there as the first franchisee, you still have a highly experienced person who is franchising the business, who can take you through all of the issues that they've gone through so that you don't have to actually, hit those same potholes on your way up. So they teach you how to run your business, right? So the processes, step 1, step 2, step 3. We're telling you this because we tried step 1, step 3, step 2, step 5 before, and it really didn't work. So step 1, 2, and 3, this is how you do it. They train you on the marketing. This is how you market. This is where you market. In those particular areas, this is where you use leaflets, right? And then once you've used leaflets, then what you do is you go and do marketing, and you do this and you do that, and your social media gives you an exact map on how to actually put the marketing out there. And again, if you're doing this for the first time, if you're starting your own business for the first time, your biggest question is going to be, how do I do it? Where do I start? What do I put there? How do I contact them? And this is a big issue, and it's definitely a rabbits in the headlights issue, right? This is where people, clam up, and instead of going out and, just doing something, what they do is they end up doing nothing and analyzing, searching Google, looking for all the statistics in the world, basically just trying to find a spark, trying to find something that's going to push them out and, get them clients. Sales, another huge support, right? Training on how to sell your product, and whether this is a children's franchise, whether it's handyman, whether it's a restaurant, how do you actually sell? How do you make sure that people come to you rather than go to somewhere else? And then once you are with that person, right, if you're quoting or if they've come in to find out more about your business, what do you do? What do you say? What do you avoid saying, right? And these are all absolutely critical things to learn. Mistakes you will make as a DIY business, and that's okay if you've got the time and the money to basically outlast the learning process in DIY businesses. And listen, I'm not knocking DIY businesses, because that's how I started. I started in recruitment, and I had a few companies, and I had to learn all these lessons. And suddenly when I was teaching people the things that I had learned, I noticed that they were doing it much faster. And that's what franchising is all about, right? Just getting to your goal quicker with less aggravation in your life. Even something as simple as customer services. How do you deal with a customer who's very unhappy because the children's party, wasn't as great as you thought it was going to be, or the painting job within the house wasn't as great as it could be, and the toilet still leaks, or whatever it might be. So the process of customer service is something that also has to get learned if you're doing it yourself. But with a franchisor in place, you've immediately got a resource. You've immediately got a process that you can follow, which helps customers. Then it comes to launching the business. And who would have thought that launching a business would be complicated, right? How do I launch it? What do I do? Do I have a big party? Do I do this? Do I do that? Do I bomb leaflets out everywhere? Do I hit social media? Do I only focus on Google? All of these questions are questions that come in thick and fast when you're doing it yourself, not with a franchise, because with a franchise, again, you've got a roadmap, you've got a step-by-step process, 1, 2, and 3. On top of that, the franchisor is also providing you with additional support, so PR or marketing, even just being there, resources and people. When I was working with one of the biggest gym chains in the world, Anytime Fitness, we used to go out, us as a head office, we used to go out and try and help the gyms kind of pre-sale. We used to stand in the supermarkets, etc. You just don't get that kind of support if you're doing it yourself, not without a cost. Right, I'm going to try and rush through things, because it was meant to be 5. It's going to end up being about 12. Right, so then you've got your business, you've launched your business, everything is great, hunky-dory, your website is up and all of these kind of things, right? Then comes that moment where you've got to go out and you've got to do the quote, or you've got to get these people in. So I've covered it slightly, but look, even something as simple as the call answering, right? Franchisors generally will have call answering support in place for your marketing, for your inbound inquiries. Now, there was a Harvard study of millions of small businesses that said that over the course of 24 hours, right, the odds of you actually converting a lead that is called in goes down to 20% in 24 hours. That thing where, get back to somebody within 24 hours and it'll be fine doesn't exist anymore, right? The optimal amount of time to get back to somebody, if you cannot take that call instantly, right, is 10 minutes. At 10 minutes, you've got a 70% chance of conversion. 24 hours, you've got a 20% chance of conversion, right? That one thing could make or break your business, just the answering of calls. And this is something franchisors bring. Branded vehicles, branded uniforms, well laid out and formatted documentation, quoting pads, all of these things are all done and dusted, and there's a process behind it when you join a franchise. Then, of course, the quoting, right? So imagine you are a handyman or a guy who does shutters or something like that. You've gone in, you've taken your measurements, you've done all your things, you've spoken to the lady and you found out how many kids are coming for the party, whatever it might be, right? Another stumbling block for DIY businesses is literally how to actually then quote. And is my price good? Is my price bad? Am I high? Am I low? Am I being cheeky? All of these kind of things. So the franchisor is on hand, giving you quoting support, pricing support, expenses reports. I'm almost done, guys. I'm going to get to your questions in 1 second, right? Then, so you've done this, you've got your clients, you're now comfortable with quoting, then you've got to grow, and it will happen really quickly. So franchises, many franchises, you'll start seeing a return on investments in under 1 year, right? Which means the odds are you're going to start hiring people. Again, big issue for small businesses. When do I hire? Who do I hire? How do I hire? How much do I pay? Is this value for money? What do I need to do in order to hire? What about HR support? All of those kind of things. Again, all packaged within a franchise support program, right? All of these things are done for you, not done for you, but done with you, so that you have the support that you need to make sure that those choices are at least based on what's happened in the previous time with other franchises and that franchisor themselves, right? Profitability support. So you've got your team up, they're working, they're great, everything is going well. Then all of a sudden you start looking at the profitability, because in your mind you're thinking, well, actually, what if I want to sell this business one day? So the franchisor will provide you with ways to up your profitability, lower your costs, do all of those things that great big businesses usually have the ability to do. Small businesses very rarely have the ability to do. And then, of course, it comes to the choice on whether or not you as a franchisee are either going to multi-unit, so get a load of these, right, and do a Domino's pizza. There's a chap in Woking who owns at least 170 Domino's pizzas, I'm sure by now. And your choice is, do I now just carry on? Am I going to multi-unit this, or am I going to sell it? Either way, if you're going to multi-unit it, your franchisor will be able to teach you how to do it. And if you're going to exit your business, the franchisor is on hand to help you with planning to get the greatest multiple, to get the greatest price for your business, because there's a vested interest for them. If your business sells for a load of money, it's an indication of the success of the network, right? So for the franchisor, if you get a great price, that is a wonderful thing for them too. Anyway, so those are just some of the the key points I jotted down today or this morning to give you some idea as to how much more sense it makes to join a franchise. Now, if you were to take all of those things I've spoken about and get independent quotes, I will 100% guarantee you that it'll end up being twice as much as buying a franchise, all packaged up, ready, neat, and knowledgeable. And on top of that, all of the experts that you'll hire independently, right, will only have a vague knowledge of your business. They won't know about your business, how that business works. Some of them might, but very, very few will. So you still have that risk that you're going to be paying some money to learn lessons along the way. Now, don't get me wrong, franchising is not risk-free. You've got to work really hard to make it work, right? As in any business. But it is by far the better and the safer way to go. Anyway, I'm going to shoot off, right? And I'm going to start off with Matthew on Facebook Messenger. Started a side hustle in lockdown while still working on my job. Now we're back in the office and I'm finding it hard to do both while still having the time for family. What do you do to get a good work-life balance? Matthew, look, I'm from the very far south. I'm just going to tell you how it is. Look, there is no work-life balance when you first start a business. If you expect it, right, then something is going to have to give. Initially, when you start a business, and I say this to all the franchisees, to everybody who comes along, right, you've got to throw everything at it. And to get the work-life balance, you've got to put in the hard yards in the beginning. You've got to go, you've got to make it. Now, if you're working a full-time job and you've got a side hustle, presumably what you're trying to do, you're trying to get the side hustle to take over the income from the full-time job. Don't make the mistake of starting to live as if you've got both incomes, right? So don't increase your living expenses and the bigger holidays and all that kind of thing. If you intend to take your side hustle to the next level, right? So my advice is basically just knuckle down, work the 22 hours out of 24 is what I do, and many other successful people that I know do. And I don't personally don't think that in the beginning of starting a business that work-life balance should really be much of a consideration. I know it's different for other people, but that's just my view. Henry on Twitter DM, in your opinion, what skills or knowledge do we need to have to make it as a franchise owner? Look, as a franchisor, I'm assuming you're talking about, you need to know your business, right? And you need to know your business both from an internal as well as an external point of view. You need to understand how your business works from a macro point of view. So you have to be able to pull yourself out and take a look at how your business works. And of course, you need to know the nitty gritty of the business. But in terms of skills, probably the most underrated and the most needed skill, right, is people management. Because when you become a franchisor, you assume that it's all about the business. You assume it's all about the processes, etc. Actually, when it comes to franchise support, I would probably say on an ongoing basis, maybe 10% of what you're going to be doing on a day-to-day basis is directly supporting a business process of some description. So most of it is going to be to help your franchisees navigate the emotional curve, because anybody who's actually started a franchise or any business before will understand that there are those days, on a Monday, you're like absolutely over the moon because you just won a contract over the weekend. Tuesday, you're down in the dumps because you lost a different client, and then you're up and down like that all the time. One of the biggest secrets of franchising is what it does is it takes that emotional curve from a big wave like that, and all it does is it just flattens it out a little bit, right? And you as a franchisor are going to be providing a lot of that support. So expect that. That is going to be the most unexpected bit of work that you need to do. And if you can master the art of people management and motivation, then 90% of your battle is won. I hope that helps, Henry. It's probably the best advice I could give you as a franchisor. Just moving on to Abigail on Instagram DM. What are the best places to look up insight from the franchise industry? I often just Google, but I don't have a regular source. It's very, very difficult, actually, Abigail, because, franchisors historically have always kept their cards really close to their chest, especially in England or in Britain. So Britain's one of the last places in the world that's unregulated in terms of franchising. So, there really isn't a source of information that is, like the Bible of franchising in the UK. If you go over to the US, right, it is highly, highly regulated. And they've got these things called FDDs, which is franchise disclosure documents. And that franchise disclosure document legally has to contain every bit of information you could possibly imagine. Backgrounds on the directors, key people within the company, how many franchises, failed, how many were successful. You have to provide all the contact details of all the franchisees, both today and, in the past. All of these things are absolutely critical in the FDD document. So you do have much more data, in terms of franchising. What I will tell you is the key statistics, which are really important, right? Number one is there's a huge failure rate in the first few months of a business trying to franchise, or in the first few years of a business trying to franchise. Part of that is because we're unregulated, so there are consultants everywhere, right? There are people who have basically just walked past a McDonald's once and now they're a franchising consultant, right? So a lot of businesses are franchised badly in the beginning. But if you take those out of the equation and we just look at the businesses that have successfully franchised and they're working and they're operating properly, 93.7% of all franchisees, right, are not only still in business after 3 years, but they are profitable, after 3 years. I had one franchisee in the shutter industry. I think it took him a year and a half, or was it under a year, I think, and he did about £600,000 just following processes. So, if you need any more statistics, I've probably got some sources that I can provide you with, but if you just contact me directly, I'd be more than happy to help you with those. Billy on Facebook Messenger. As a budding entrepreneur, I'm always on the lookout for the next business trend. For example, we've seen such a boom in tech delivery in the last 5 years. Are there other emerging trends around the world you've noticed we should be considering? Well, look, I mean, anything outdoors and to do with DIY is absolutely booming at the moment. I probably about 8 years ago, we looked after a handyman franchise. And the reason the handyman franchise was launched was literally because, there was a statistic, a research document that was done where they believed that that DIY skills would be extinct by 2033. And that was just because, fathers weren't teaching sons anymore or daughters. And it was just everybody was much more focused on the iPad. Let's just say it that way, rather than changing a light bulb. So that sector is really, really doing well. And, I have to say that I think that the most protected jobs in the future are going to be ones where, the guys who are working with their hands, where they are able to do things and fix things and, sort things out. So that's probably one area. The other area that's absolutely been booming, but also in terms of competitiveness, it's very competitive, is domiciliary care. So taking care of the elderly. And that's just going to become a growing and growing and growing business. So, both of those are fantastic. I must say that the domiciliary care, I think, is, pretty tied up by franchises at the moment, just because there are that many franchises out there, and big organizations like the NHS, even direct consumers, they like buying from big brands because brands give them a bit of, comfort that things are going to get sorted out if they go wrong. And franchises actually provide that. So those are the two kind of areas that are doing well. Children are also, children's sector is doing okay. They had a bit of a hard time during lockdowns because of locations. But the other one probably is pets. So there's a fantastic brand that I look after that does dog hydrotherapy, and they were absolutely rammed throughout lockdown. All their clients are coming from veterinary referrals. It's just fantastic little business. So those kind of things are pretty good. Right. So let's go on to Emilia. Before the pandemic, I was thinking about taking up a hospitality franchise. I held off, and I'm now looking at it again. Do you think it's a good idea? Has the sector bounced back? Emilia, I was actually speaking to somebody yesterday who's very involved in the restaurant sector, and he said all indications are that things are looking very, very good. Look, I would say yes. I think there's a lot of there will be a big bounce back. However, it is also just an incredibly competitive sector. So if you are doing it yourself, then you've got to go super boutique, and you really got to know what you're doing. If you're going with a franchise, then you are obviously going to be in a much better position. But even that it's getting very hard to do, because what's happening in the restaurant sector is the big guys, the big franchisees, the multi-unit guys, right, are buying up everything that they can find because they are very cash positive, very cash positive. So it's one thing to consider. Although that being said, I'm working with a client right now in Sydney. They're actually from Liverpool originally, and they have started a cookie dough desserts company that does deliveries, and they are absolutely flying. So they've got a brilliant little sort of USP, very, very cool and quirky. Cookie dough desserts. I think it took them 3 months from launch, and they'd saved something like $30,000. So there are sectors that are doing very, very, very well. Right. So just going on to Lucia, what does it take to build up a care-based franchise as an independent entrepreneur? Honestly, Lucia, I would say insanely hard work, right? Because look, on one hand, you are actually competing like for like with a franchise, because a franchise is also a local business, right? The difference is that what they've brought with them is a big old weapon, which is the brand, and the support and all that kind of stuff. But that being said, as an independent business, you can absolutely do it. And one of the things I would say is just really sheer hard work, a lot of networking, because obviously businesses buy from businesses, organizations buy from organizations. And if you've got a reputation for excellence, then there should be no reason why you won't be successful. But, in the care sector, it is so competitive. Franchises are only half of I guess the competitors really in the area. I remember speaking to one of the franchisees in the care sector in Southampton, and he was saying when he started his business, he had something like 15 competitors. 3 years later, he had something like 40. Just in that area. So I would just say hard work, a lot of money in marketing, would probably do the trick. Also depends on if you're going for consumers direct or if you're going for NHS business, I guess. So I hope that helped in some small way. Right, so I'm going over to David on Twitter, DM. What advice do you have for a winning early stage early stage investments? How to tackle investors suggesting changes I'm not comfortable with? David, this is a tough one. Look, early stage investments is what it is, and my personal view is that if at all, try and get your early stage investor from investors who are not going to necessarily get involved unless you want them to, right? So if you've taken on an investor, they've given you money and you've taken them on for their specific skill set, right? Then, just make sure that they fully understand that they are part of an advisory system and not necessarily part of what is going to happen. So what I would say is also just remember that, sometimes it might not make a lot of sense to you, but maybe it might be the right decision. So possibly go and speak to some other people and also get advice on it. But it's so difficult because, you feel so responsible because you've received that money. It's a very, very difficult one. I always say to franchisors, franchisees, and anybody else, if you're going to get an investor or if you're going to receive money, try and rather just take a loan at early stage. Try and take a loan because that is probably the best way to get yourself sorted. It also puts a lot of the emphasis on you, responsibility on you, so you make smarter decisions just because of the nervousness of not being able to pay it back. But yeah, it's a tough one. If you want to talk it through, I'd be more than happy. Just contact me directly. I've dealt with these things a lot over the years. So yeah, more than happy to help. Fahim on Facebook Messenger. I manage a small family-owned restaurants, and to keep us afloat during lockdown, we started offering deliveries and click and collect. Although we fully reopened, the majority of our trade is still coming from takeaways. What should I do? I don't have the resources to run both, but I don't want to just become a takeaway trader. Fahim, the thing is, it's difficult because a lot of people are saying the same thing, even just, going to exhibitions and businesses and all that kind of thing. The footfall is low. It's much lower. You've got to be much more creative nowadays to get people into restaurants, because I think what's happened is people have formed habits, right? It was 18 months of habit forming. It was 18 months of not having to dress up to go out to eat good food, right? It just simply arrived while you're sitting in your tracky bottoms watching a movie on TV. So what you need to do is you need to focus on making your restaurants an experience, rather than making it about the experience rather than the food, right? So maybe have slightly less covers, but something that draws people in. So there are a lot of smart and marketing techniques. There's a lot of guerrilla marketing techniques that I've heard of that people are using to get people back into their restaurants. But it is a slog because you've got to break habits now, right? And that's your big challenge right now, is just to get people to go through the effort of dressing up and going to your restaurant and, having a good time. Anyway, if you want to just chat through that, I'd be more than happy to help you with some advice on that and see if we can, get the footfall up again. The good thing is people are still buying your stuff. People are still buying your food. So you're still in communication with them, which is a fantastic first step. That's a luxury problem, as far as business is concerned. I hope that helped, and please, honestly, feel free to contact me. Right, guys, the poll results are in, and we asked you, are you considering franchising your business? 30% of you said yes. That's fantastic. Please call me. 10% of you said no. That is also good because, a lot of businesses just really shouldn't be a franchise. They don't have the, they don't have that. It's not that they don't have something. It is basically that it's just not right for them, right? And you as an entrepreneur also need to make that call on whether or not, franchising is going to be for you, because it actually really is more about you and your personality and if it's going to work for you. And then, of course, 60% of you said, I'm not sure, which is what we would expect to hear. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. If you want to get in contact with me, you can email me on sean@growglobal.com. That's SEAN@growglobal.com. Or visit our website, www.growglobal.com. And grow is spelled GROE. we came up with a cool spelling because we cool like the kids. So GROEglobal.com. Coming up on Ask the Expert tomorrow is Michelle Flynn, a certified mental health coach who helps people and businesses understand their health and happiness. Tune in to get advice on managing your mental health and mastering mindfulness. A reminder that if you need any more advice, join the official Intuit QuickBooks SMB community on Facebook. Accountants and business experts are on hand 24/7. And I have absolutely enjoyed chatting to you today. I've got a funny feeling I've gone over time, but hopefully it was worth it. Again, if you want to get hold of me, please feel free to contact me directly in any way. Thank you very much, guys. Have a wonderful day.